Let's talk about books, baby. Oh yeah, get your books out. Why am I recording?
I don't know.
Welcome
to Jessica's house!
Yay!
You can't really see your bookshelves. We decided to just film in the middle, but
Film in
they
between them?
pretty.
Thanks.
What are we doing? Oh!
So these are the books that we read in February.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, it is March already.
Yeah.
Let's take a second to celebrate the fact it's your birthday month.
It's my birthday month! It's my favorite month.
Yeah.
It's the month in which spring comes to us. My birthday is the day after spring starts.
I know when spring starts because I know when your birthday is.
Let's get started. I'm Jessica.
I'm Christeena.
And you're watching
Game of Tomes.
It's funny that we feel like we have to pause after we say that.
Yeah.
I think we did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read a whole lot in the second half of the month because I was just busy, but I am really happy with the books that I did read, and I listened to some good audiobooks in the second half of the month, so I feel
I'm
good
pretty
about
happy with it too, and actually the majority of my books are actually like really highly rated this month. So
Yeah.
I feel like I got some really good ones this month.
Right, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
The first one I actually finished this month. I started in January. This month, it's March. The first book that I actually finished in February was The Girls by Emma Cline, and I actually gave this one 2 stars because it's not really what I thought it was going to be. It's set in kind of like Manson era, and it's based on that very loosely, that she kind of runs off and joins this group of girls, and she just wants to belong somewhere and be a part of something.
Is it like a commune?
Yes, she goes and lives with them, and there's a guy like Manson who leads everything and is, and it just, it flashes back from her being older and going back and telling her story, and I just didn't really care for it that much. It didn't really hold my interest, so.
Okay.
But, you know, it's okay because I saw that one around a lot, and I wanted to, because I like learning about Manson and things that happen and just like that whole like kind of cult mentality. And
it's
so,
interesting, yeah.
Okay, and then I read Saga volume 1 through 8 because Jessica so kindly lent them to me. I gave 5 stars to all of them. We actually have a discussion video that we can link below for that. And don't worry, we did it by volume. So if you haven't read all of them, you can stop at whatever volume you got to.
So the first book I finished this month, we finished together with Sue from the restricted section, and that is The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien, which we both borrowed, so we don't have physically anymore. So I gave it 4 stars.
And I gave it 3.5 stars.
I really enjoyed it.
I was dreading reading this. We read The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy with Sue last year, so we thought, why not? We'll read The Silmarillion. And we heard that it was really dry.
Which it is at times.
It is at times. But I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. Way more.
Me too. We learned things like where wizards come from.
Yeah.
Which I thought was super interesting. As well as like dwarves and how the world was created. And it was his own creation myth story. And it starts out with the gods. Mm-hmm. There's one god that creates other gods that create the elves and the dwarves and the wizards.
And men come along, and it's just, it was really, really good because I feel like I understand a lot more now, and there was also things that I didn't know that I learned, and it was just really good. At first I thought, man, I should have read this before Lord of the Rings because I would have understood more, but no, because spoilers, and also it is really dry, and I feel like reading Lord of the Rings trilogy kind of prepared me for that.
That makes sense, yeah.
Like his style of writing and just how he is.
Right. There are lots of stories within that book, and our favorite would have to be Beren and Luthien, which it turns out Beren and Luthien have their own book.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about reading that too.
Yeah, I would love to. And it's really nice because you kind of see like the beginning of Sauron. and like his whole journey and how he comes about into being. And, you know, I feel like you get a little more definition on how orcs were made as well, which we had talked about while reading Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So I thought it was really, really good. And you're also you get characters from Lord of the Rings in this book, so it all kind of loops together, and that we could really appreciate.
Right. Yeah. Like Elrond and Galadriel.
Yes. I gave it 3.5 stars, even though I've talked about how much I really enjoyed it. Yeah. There were still chapters that I really struggled to get through. And sometimes there was too much information where I felt like I couldn't retain it all or understand it all. But I will say, if you're going to read this, if you think you want to read it, get the physical book. There is an appendix in the back, and there's also family trees and maps in it, and it's just so helpful to be able to flip back to that stuff. That helped a lot.
Especially when there's like people with more than one name.
Yeah.
Or something big happens in their life, and they're like, I'm gonna change my name now. Yeah, that happened a lot. It would refer to one character by multiple names. Yeah. And you just kind of had to, you know, go along with it and figure it out. I just try to talk louder with it. If you guys are fans of the Lord of the Rings, I would say read it. I think it's worth it, for sure. Yes, me too. Yeah. Dope. Let's move on. Yeah. February in the US is Black History Month, so I thought I would try and pick up some books by Black authors. And I first picked up Push by Sapphire. What's the movie called? Precious? Yeah, I've seen that. I have not seen it, and I gave this book 4 stars, but it was hard. It was rough. Hard to read. Yeah. Just from the content of it and what she goes through and things like that. But I really appreciated that the author wrote very authentically in the fact that she is illiterate. And so her spelling and things like that are very off. Yeah. But that flows along with the character because it's from her point of view. And I really enjoyed it. Cool. I'm glad that I read it. Awesome. So I got this book for Christmas in our book club book exchange from Alessandra. And it is Starters. I really like the cover. It's very pretty colors. It is super pretty. Written by Lisa Price, or maybe Lissa. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. It's Lisa with 2 S's, so maybe it's Lissa. Anyway, it was good. I liked it. I didn't love it. What did you rate it? I gave it 4 stars. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, it was good. It was very fast-paced. It is a YA dystopian novel where everyone between the ages of, I want to say, 18 to 60 are dead. Wow. Yeah, because we're at war with a country in the Pacific Ocean. That's what it said. Okay. Are at war with the West, and so they poisoned us all with spores, and only the young and the old got vaccines. Gotcha. Because they were the most susceptible, but everybody died. So there are people over 60. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. And in this future, people are living past 100. Oh, wow, okay. So these kids have their grandparents and their great-grandparents, but they don't have their parents anymore. Right. And the kids who didn't have any grandparents before are living on the streets. Wow. And they get collected by the police. But now they can grow up to be adults and have kids of their own and not die, as long as they don't get infected. Except the people who have had the vaccine, none of them have had kids yet. Okay. So they're afraid that... How is that going to work out? Yeah. Yeah. They're afraid that nobody's going to have any kids after this. So they said it's like a temporary effect of the vaccine, but like nobody knows. So I enjoyed this a lot. I also have this Enders, which I borrowed from Alessandra because she owns it. I think it's just a duology. I think she said it was, if I remember correctly. Beautiful copies, though. I really like the colors. I do too. Yeah. I should put this in my TBR because if I have time, I'll read it. Right. I like her straight bangs. Yeah, girl. They're very pretty. Very pretty. Yeah. I really like dystopians too. I do too. Yeah. And that's another element of this. Like they have really good technology that'll make you like perfect and stuff. Right. Yeah. Our friends over at Brushing Bookends, Megan and Allie, recently read and reviewed. Oh, I need to watch their discussion now. You should. Oh, I forgot about that. I need to do that. Anyways, they recently picked up Artemis, and that inspired me to get the audiobook. I'm glad I got the audiobook because Rosario Dawson narrates it, and she does such a good job. I didn't even realize that was her until you said something about it. I'm currently listening to it, but I
love her. I think she's a wonderful actress in person.
Yes.
And she does a fantastic job at narrating it. I mean, her really accents and stuff are like spot on.
They were very good.
Yeah.
You know, to my Western English ear.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
I thought she just brought the character to life, and she just sounded like her.
Yeah.
It was good. I didn't like it as much as The Martian, and I can't help but compare the two.
Because Artemis is basically a space heist in a society that lives on a moon. Right. On the moon. Mm-hmm. Not a moon.
I didn't connect with her as much as I did with Mark Watney.
Yeah.
It was very plotty McPlot.
Yeah.
But...
Do you mean like kind of a predictable plot?
No, I mean like it was a good pace.
Right.
But I don't know, I wasn't on board with it so much. It's like, with Mark Watney, you're rooting for him to get off of Mars and grow his potatoes. But with her, I wasn't into her sabotaging this company so that she could,
become a millionaire.
Exactly.
Anyway, our book club graphic novel pick for this month was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll.
Yes.
And I think I gave it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so this is a graphic novel that contains 5 short stories, and they're kind of like scary stories.
Spooky.
Yeah, and they're not like, you know, super spooky.
I feel like they're middle grade.
I would agree.
Spooky.
I would agree. But, I mean, there's some artwork in here that I really did enjoy.
Ow.
There was some that I was like,
yeah,
so,
some spooky stuff.
Yeah, so I gave it 3.5. I enjoyed it. But, you know,
they're short. We didn't feel like we had enough time. Like, once we start getting into it, you're like, ooh, and then it's like, and it ends.
Yeah.
I love the art. The art is my favorite thing about it. One thing I liked about it is
what did you rate it?
Oh.
3 stars, right?
I think I gave it 3.
Oh, that one's cool.
Isn't that beautiful, huh? And like there's a little Red Riding Hood kind of character, and she's going through the woods. It's so pretty. I like how each one has a little bit of its own style.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like though, there are like 4 stories in here, but each character is like a white woman.
Yeah.
I just felt like if you're gonna have 4 different stories in different settings and different cultures and time periods even, diverse it up a little bit, I felt, you know, just, we don't have to whitewash everything.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like a graphic novel version of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yes.
Which I loved in middle grade, and this is kind of more like a visual representation of that, which Scary Stories does have illustrations in it, but this is kind of more, you know,
graphic novel-y.
Yeah, and I feel like the stories are very similar to that. It's kind of like,
I agree.
You've got this climax, and then it very abruptly, you know, and moves on to the next.
Yeah.
But that's not in a bad way.
No, of course.
Yeah.
It's just, I didn't know it was going to be short stories.
I didn't either.
And so when it started to switch, we were like, oh.
Because when I got it in, I was like, wow, this is a nice, thick graphic novel.
We thought, oh, we're going to, like, get into some character.
Yeah, and then reading the back, it said 5 mysterious, spine-tingling stories. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But, like, that's cool, too.
Yeah.
That's cool, too.
Right.
So, yeah, 3.5.
Yeah, middle of the road, kind of juvenile.
Yeah.
And that's not a problem, but we didn't expect that to be.
Yeah. It wasn't what we expected. And
I thought it was going to be for adults.
I did too, and that is one thing that I will say. We usually go into stuff blind.
Yeah.
And this is an example of one that kind of hurt us. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I knew ahead of time.
Right, me too.
Yeah. Which, you know, we could have just read the synopsis, but like.
So I also listened to Where Am I Now by Mara Wilson. She's a little girl, if you don't know, who played Matilda in Matilda. I grew up watching that movie and I loved it so much. She also played the little girl in Mrs. Doubtfire and Miracle on 34th Street, among other things.
I'm sorry, I was watching your child jump from couch to couch and I was really scared for you for a second there. My face was probably like...
It was.
Did she narrate it?
Yes, she did.
Cool.
She narrated it, and she did a very good job at that.
Good.
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried when she talked about Robin Williams' death.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I cried when she talked about the making of Matilda.
Yeah.
Her mom passed away just after they filmed Matilda, like during the post-production.
So young.
Yeah.
Wow.
She had breast cancer.
Oh my gosh, that's rough.
And she already had anxiety, and when the way she talked about her existential crisis when she was a kid, I was like, I identified with it so much because I had anxiety as a kid, even though I didn't know what that was.
Right.
I think hers Hers was worse because after her mom, or when her mom got really sick, it turned into OCD. She had heard of OCD before, but OCD was more like a punchline, like if you're a perfectionist, then you're obsessive compulsive, that sort of thing. Right. And it wasn't until she read Kissing Doorknobs that she realized that it was like a disease.
It's a real thing, not just
that she could.
I like everything perfectly straight.
Right. Kissing Doorknobs is a book that I read in high school.
Never read it.
It's very good. And it's about a girl who is going through all those anxieties and has OCD, but no one can figure out what's wrong with her. And it was before OCD was
really known about. Right.
Mara read that book and she just started crying because she's like, this is a book about my life.
Right. And finally, like, I'm not weird and alone, or...
Exactly.
Right. Because as a kid, you don't know. You don't know, like, what's exactly normal or not normal. Right. You just know, like, uh-oh, I'm different. Uh-oh, that's not good, you know.
The book was very thought-provoking and well-written. She's very smart and talented. I'm so glad that I read this, and I just feel like she's been with me my whole life because of Matilda, and a little girl who is smart and loves to read and being celebrated for that. And now she's an adult. I'm getting emotional. Now she's an adult. I saved your life. Thank you.
Take it over there.
Give it to Brett. Anyway, I'm super glad that I read it, and I'm
5 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars.
Good.
It was a great book.
Okay, so our book club book for the month of February was Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I actually listened to it on audio. This is my physical copy, but Jessica DNF'd it.
Okay, here's what happened. I have never not read the book club book before.
Yeah.
So this is new for me. I got the audiobook and I was gonna start listening to it, and when I did not enjoy the narrator at all. With like a week to go before book club, Christeena gave me her physical copy, but I was busy and I just didn't read it. It's not the right time for me. I'm not gonna read it right now. I'm glad you enjoyed it though.
I did. I gave it 4 stars.
Cool.
But because you made a post in our book club group on Facebook saying that you didn't like the narrator, so out of interest, I was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to it. I really liked the narrator a lot. She was kind of an older woman, but kind of did it with like an Irish accent, I felt like, which was different. And I don't know, I really got into it hardcore, so I just went that route.
I thought she sounded like a robot, and I had trouble understanding what she said, which is normally not a problem for me. And I hate when older people are doing like kids.
Younger, yeah.
It just bothers me.
Okay, so it follows the life of this orphan girl named Nona, which is my mom's name, y'all, so I had to get it. There's like 4 different major blood types. You can be fast like a Hunska, or you can be very strong like a Gerent, or you can have a little bit of magical powers like a Marjol, or you can have a lot of magical powers like something else, I don't remember. You follow her along in her journey in the convent, and you know, with all of her sisters and stuff, and it's interesting, but it's very day-to-day based. There were some surprises that I didn't expect, but yeah, I mean, I actually really enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to.
Good.
And I think if I would have read it physically, I think I would have rated it lower.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to get into it as much, because I don't know what it was, but the audio, I just didn't want to stop. Which is interesting.
That's great. It is interesting because I listen to audiobooks that Christeena can't get into all the time. She's like, I just can't handle the narrator. I tune them out. Oh my gosh.
Naked baby.
I swear.
This is going to be a mess of a wrap up. As I mentioned before, I was trying to pick up books by Black authors this month, so I decided to pick up Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and I gave this 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it.
Cool.
You followed the life of a African-American woman named Janie, and you get briefly while she's kind of a teenager and she lives with her grandmother, but she's mixed race. She's also, I believe, she's also Caucasian, and so she's very lighter skinned and has very long, straight black hair, and she's kind of envied by men and women, and she's
envied by men?
Or she's wanted by men and envied by women.
Gotcha.
This is kind of set in the 30s and 40s. Her grandmother passes away. She goes off and decides to just find love. She doesn't want to have a life of just to be taken care of. She wants to find love. I loved it. I don't want to say anything else about it. And the writing, I had to read it a little slower because it is written in the like Southern African American language, the dialect, and so sometimes you kind of have to go, okay, you know. But it was pretty easy to catch on to. You know,
I want to read it.
You should totally read it though. I loved it. Samantha Leanne read it, and so when I finished it last night, I sent her a Snapchat of it, and I said, "Dude, I just finished this," and we talked a little bit about it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I read Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Johnny Sun. It's a graphic novel.
Also, like, it's hardback.
It's hardback graphic novel.
That's crazy. What did you rate it?
I gave it 4 stars.
Cool. Nice.
I want to know what he was smoking when he wrote this. It's a little bit random at first. You're like, what? What? But it's really cute. I just want to show you, like, an example. Okay. So here's the little alien, and the grass is like, hey, hi, hey. And then the grass says, we are happy to provide comfort for you to be walking on. Thank you for being gentle when stepping on us.
Wow.
And it's kind of like he was on LSD a little bit.
Yeah.
When he wrote this. But it's about depression and how there has to be sadness in the world for there to be happiness.
Yeah.
It's very much the same message of that Pixar movie, Inside Out. And it was very inspirational and made me happy. I read it in like 30 minutes or something.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Outro.
That is our very crazy February wrap up. Sorry for the kid sounds. It's a standard in our videos, I feel like.
Yeah, sometimes we have both the kids and they like to run around and we cannot help it.
They're boys.
Yep. They're boys. Little. Thank you so much for watching. When you play the Game of Tomes,
you read or you die.
Come be our friends. Social media links in the description below.
And we hope you're reading a great book.
Bye.
Bye. Can you say Game of Tomes?
All right. Oh, he said it. He said it.
He said it.
Game of